Australian soil and taking a trophy away from the Australians, because there is an incredible sporting rivalry between those two nations in a variety of different sports that basically no one outside of those two countries and us in the UK actually care about, but still.
Wow. It means a lot. It's pride amongst the dozens of so players.
Exactly, yeah. But we're going to get straight into it. It's going to be the Secret Mage opener from Odyssey, and it's going to be coming up against Jakattack's Priest, if the icon is to be believed. But we're only looking at a Tar Creeper right now, so it could be anything at this point. But this hand is a secret away from absolute magic from Odyssey's side, and that Primordial Glyph is a secret a lot of the time. 60% and above, I believe, are the percentages of picking up any given one secret or more from Primordial Glyph, but he does choose to throw it away in the end.
Do you want to clarify, by the way, before we get too much deeper in the series, that this is the only best of 5 we'll be playing?
Yes.
Jakattack did come through the upper bracket, but it's essentially a 16-player group that you've advanced to the playoff stage, set the playoff stages one round. So, you know, it doesn't really matter if you come from the winners or the losers. You have to win this last best of 5 winner take all.
Yeah, and no secret was found, so Odyssey is just going to curve out his Lackey and his Medivh's Valet just as minions to start hitting Jakattack with. And I do wonder about that Glyph keep, because, like I said, you are, you know, above 50-50 to find a secret, I believe, off Primordial Glyph. Are you that likely to find one by mulliganing that Glyph away? I don't think you are, so it's worth thinking about.
Definitely a tough proposition when you want to get early game tempo against a deck that's so powerful in the mid-game stages of this battle for the board. And again, kind of met with misconnections. You mentioned it. The Kirin Tormage is by far the best tempo player this turn, but it's pretty weak if it doesn't have actual secrets to back it up. The benefit, though, is that it's not like Tar Creeper will pick up much better trades besides his Cabal Lackey.
Yeah, the breakpoint in that calculation as well is that you can mulligan not only into a secret, but also into Arcanologist, which kind of perfects your hand as well. So there's more than just the 5 or 6 secrets, however many you're playing, that you can hit. Those 2 Arcanologists that add to the pool as well. But still nothing just yet, but the Arcanologist will fix that very quickly. But in the meantime, Jakattack has pretty much dominated this early game board, and if you are not putting the beat down on as the Secret Mage in this matchup, you're going to have a real hard time clutching the game out in the later stages, because you're just going to be so overwhelmingly behind on board that even if you hit an Alineth on 6, you're only going to have maybe 2 turns to convert that into lethal, because you're going to be under so much pressure coming back the other way.
That's right. You give up the board completely oftentimes when you play Alineth, because you're already most likely going to be behind on board early on, and then you let them play the Spiteful Summoner or other really powerful board establishment plays, and then you just die because there's 15 power on the board twice over. So you're really dependent on those ice blocks. And Odyssey finally gets the secret, and he has the Cabal Crystal Runners, the Medivh's Valet, but it's just a little bit too expensive right now to fit everything in this turn, but he can plan for the next 2 turns after he gets this explosive runes down.
I'm going to go with Ping over the Valet here. I wonder if he ever sacrifices his 2/3s. He does have another turn before he has to start worrying about that Cabal Talon Priest. That is a savage Dustbreaker.
What a rip. That is going to be a board wipe. Jakattack okay with taking the life cut here. And Odyssey does have more board, but he also lost a secret with the explosive runes gone, which means that Medivh's Valet, once again, is just a vanilla 2/3 minion without any effect.
Right.
Your magic shall not
Spellbreaker on the Twilight Drake, though, is at least something. Helps him get back into a position where he is marginally ahead on this board, but Jakattack has a whole turn of development behind this, and he just keeps picking up great curve options. That fills out with the Netherspite Historian just perfectly. There is Dustbreaker number 2. Please do not pick that Deathwing, Jakattack. I cannot handle any more Deathwings in my life.
I would like one game like that in the Grand Finals to wrap it up. Because, you know, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but historically it's been like the semifinals are like super epic and awesome, and then the finals like, well, you know, it's you can't get more exciting than that. Can't get more exciting than that.
Well, we right back where we started. Dustbreaker coming down for tempo, a little bit of damage to a Twilight Drake. leaving it as a 4-3. I think this is actually the exact same play that we saw the last time around.
Yeah, and Secret Mage just can't win the board. Finally draws another secret through the Arcanologist. Potion of Polymorph, more useful than the counterspell, so that ends up being a very nice moment here for Odyssey. And can squeeze in one of these Cabal Crystal Runners as well, so finally on the board and slightly ahead now.
Yep. But we are getting into sketchy territory here because there's some big swings coming from Jakattack. He has Twilight Acolyte, Talon Priest in the coming turns, then he can go into Mind Controls. He's going to choose to just go ahead and Talon Priest right now. He's going to walk into that Potion of Polymorph just for a 1-1, but he's still in such a comfortable spot on board position. And even deciding that he maybe has enough value in his hand to not worry about it, but in the end, talks himself out of it, does heal up the 3-1 in the end. Oof, punished.
Yeah. That is the one of the better draws in Odyssey's deck here. Now he finally has tempo. Jakattack doesn't. Oh, wow. Although because the taunt minion's in the way, he doesn't get the Dustbreaker optimal value here.
Yeah, it's actually not that good. He can Twilight Acolyte behind it though to neuter a lot of the board state, which is pretty reasonable. And now, when your opponent is out of cards, having 2 Mind Controls in your hand is actually really sick because they're only doing one thing a turn, and you have a card that says take your opponent's one thing and make it your one thing. So you just do that a couple of times, and it more or less ends the game in the majority of situations.
Odyssey trying to see if he can find the out here. Does he have a Pyroblast in his deck?
What to do?
Odyssey does not. He curves out at Fireland's portal at the top of his curve.
So it does. I mean, even if in the ideal world he was able to even set it up next turn and Priest didn't heal, wouldn't be able to land it.
Right.
By the way, Jakattack had the option of a Nixia or Nosdormu and took Nosdormu. Is that like just because he's just trying to meme again and have fun? Or is it actually the better pick over a Nixia?
I'm racking my brain for any possible reason why that would be true, and no, I've come down as a hard ruling on he is just a memer.
It's almost as if he heard us there. But. Odyssey going for a trades. Interesting. Kind of saying that I need my best chances solely on the shoulders of this Mana Worm. That's a tall order for this Nosdormu. Oh, Jakattack is so pleased with himself.
The thumbs up.
Oh, I hope he gets. He can't. It's a counter to the Primordial Glyph Mana Worm lethal. He can't have enough time to do it.
He's a genius. He's actually a genius. He played around the only way he was going to lose the game, which was this Mana Worm sticking to the board.
Jakattack living in 3018 here.
Oh, that thumbs up was like my favorite thing in a very, very long time.
What if that was kind of... Oh, man. Yeah.
He just threw a Mind Control into a random glyph secret.
What if that was like counterspell and then like Odyssey gets another glyph into Pyroblast? That would be lethal right there. I would have loved if that was just a game.
Well, he would have just traded the Nosdormu into the Mana Worm, right? If he couldn't have Mind Controlled it. So it was actually safe, but I think it's safe to say that Jakattack stopped playing optimal Hearthstone there for a minute and just started having fun. And that's no like disrespect to him as a player. Like I've been sat with him backstage and listening to him comment on some of the plays that are being made, and he's a really, really smart guy who understands a lot of the like high-level intricacies of a lot of matchups. But he's just having fun playing Hearthstone. Yeah. It's so refreshing to see at like even a super high level. I could never, do what he does. I'm a super tryhard, a super competitive player, and take things seriously to a fault sometimes. So to me, it's like super refreshing to see this guy just absolutely enjoying himself, not any element of nerves, the most relaxed man on the planet when the stakes are at their absolute highest. It's awesome to watch.
Yeah, it feels like this guy is incapable of experiencing tilt. I've seen him lose games where it's like, wow, his opponent just like got really lucky, but then just shook it off, kind of smiled.
Yeah.
So even though it feels like because he hasn't lost yet in any series, the confirmation bias, he's just smiling because he's winning. He actually smiles whenever he does lose the games as well. So he's just that happy of a guy. As once again, just a reminder of how the bans with Odyssey without that Quest Rogue, which is, of course, very scary for Jakattack's slower lineup with the Control Paladin and the Cube Warlock. Although it is interesting because he does have 2 faster decks with the Spiteful Priest and the Secret Mage.
Right.
But the Spiteful Priest does tend to struggle against those rogue decks a lot of the time when they're able to grab that board control. It's interesting, too, because people thought Quest Rogue really wasn't that playable, and then, you know, they got, like, a good legendary or 2 with Zola and Sonya. Now, all of a sudden, they're really much a threat again in tournaments and sometimes on ladder.
You imagine if that thing just didn't get nerfed and it was still at 4, like we would just be seeing Quest Rogue over and over and over and over. It's such an absurd deck. Like even now, in the right format, when things are just slow enough and light enough on burst damage, Quest Rogue will always be like one of the optimal order strategies in a metagame like that, just because it's so oppressive and it's almost by definition uncounterable, right? Because of the board aura being the way that it works. All of your counterplay to dealing with large boards and large minions just don't work anymore because you've just got permanent 5/5s.
Yeah, true that. Well, Odyssey's going to turn back to the Secret Mage. And, it's definitely not the level of oppressive that we were just talking about with the Quest Rogue. But we'll see whether or not Jakattack can withstand this pressure. Odyssey is just kind of one Kirin Tormage away from unlocking the power of his hand.
Mana does show up just a little bit late. The counterspell timing here will be very, very clutch because Control Paladin specifically is a deck with very, very key spells that they're going to want to activate on very, very key turns, by which I mean Consecration and more so Equality in combination with Pyromancer or that said Consecration. So understanding when your opponent wants to go for something like that and getting the counterspell to line up is super important. That's why I'm perhaps a little bit surprised here that he's using it just to prevent a call to arms more than anything on coming out on curve, deciding that he can't actually hold on to the board if Jakattack is able to call to arms on this turn, and giving up one of his best resources to maintain his own board and using it to prevent his opponent from developing a board out ahead of him.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, who's the player really trying to disrupt the game plan of the other player, right? It's
a great question.
Oftentimes the control player trying to just hold off the aggression from Secret Mage, because then they don't even have to have a direct win condition unless the mage has Aluneth and puts them on a clock.
Right.
So sometimes just one threat, like by the time this Tyrion goes down, chances are Jakattack just has a 6/6 pressuring for the win in a lot of cases. But we'll see what ends up happening here because Odyssey has a lot of options with how he wants to build the board this turn.
Yeah, he can go for a huge push here with Explosive Runes, Medivh's Valet, and the free Cabal Crystal Runner alongside using the coin to get it all done. And with the counterspell still up in play protecting, he is then resistant to any kind of Equality or Consecration play alongside that. So I really do like the all-in kind of push at this point. But Odyssey is going to hold back just a little bit for the sake of holding on to an Explosive Runes.
Yeah, just wants to time his Explosive Runes better. Which conveniently would have been very right now against the Burly Bully.
Yep.
Which, it's interesting, too, because it would have discounted the Cabal Crystal Runner for free anyways. So the value of the coin, I mean, there also is this, like, speculation of, oh, am I holding Aluneth? You don't know. I can coin out Aluneth. But
right.
I don't think that's very powerful if you don't actually have it. It's not worth the bluff.
Yeah, I specifically do like the Explosive Runes play on that turn because, yeah, it was Burgly Bully time, and it was also a good Tarim turn, right? Just to Tarim and trade into the 5/5 with one of your smaller guys, at which point you can deal 6 damage to the Tarim, and then you can just ping it off, and it's no big deal, alongside like a Mana Worm play on the following turn. Because otherwise, a 3/7 is like really nasty for you to be able to deal with.
Yeah, that's also a good point. I can see that for sure. Jakattack knows the secret possibilities too. Could also be Potion of Polymorph. It is an Odyssey's lineup. Just have to be really careful not to throw in something carelessly and then let this 5 damage get out of hand. But he is holding some of his most expensive cards here. The Wild Pyromancer is just going to get eaten up. I mean, Jakattack knew that whatever he played was in jeopardy of just dying anyways. But this could be the corner or this one window of opportunity for Odyssey to sneak in a win.
Yeah, he needs pressure, and he needs it right now. He has, with his usage of secrets, created a very nice spot where his board is resilient. He saw a Pyromancer get used. Even if that Pyromancer had stuck, there was a counterspell behind all this that would have potentially protected the equality from going off, even with his 1 health minion still vulnerable to the Pyromancer effect. So he's in trouble, and he is just going to have to slam that Tarim, and there is Explosive Runes number 2, creating exactly the interaction I talked about, meaning Odyssey can now just ping straight through this 3-1.
Yeah, this is something I wanted to ask as well. The holding on to the coin, and he could have put out a Cabal Lackey, would have maybe put on a little bit more pressure, and then set up for Firelance Portal to potentially just be the game ender. But, you know, I guess we're already past that point here, because Odyssey is still holding on to those resources. Sees Ragnaros the Firelord. He has 9, 14, 15, 16, 17 damage, because the coin gives +1 damage to the Mana Worm.
3, 6, 9, 14, 15, coin is 16, Medivh's Valet is 19.
Oh, yeah, so I was counting the hero power, but that should be it. And Jakattack is not able to survive that one window of opportunity that Odyssey has been able to carve out for himself.
All very academic at the end, but I wonder what wins more often there. Oh no, he had to go for the Rag Lightlord play. He knows there's a counterspell up. I was about to raise the possibility of just going Loot Hoarder Spike Ridge Steed instead of the Rag Lightlord, but the counterspell was still in play, so he was forced to go for the Lightlord line and just hope that the damage was not there. If the damage wasn't there, it's the power of Rag Lightlord, right? Because it doesn't heal you just for 8, it heals you for 16, because they then have to kill the Lightlord as well. They can't just leave it there and keep pushing if you don't die immediately. Unfortunately for Jakattack, though, he did die immediately, and that was a good victory for Secret Mage to pick up. It did have a little bit of a slow start in the matchup, but it was that mid-game Cabal Crystal runner pressure that really got the job done in that matchup.
Yeah, that's right. Seems like Jakattack couldn't really do too much in that position, given that the Mage early game start, or mid-game rather, ramp was just powerful enough to get over the hump. Are you just laughing at Jakattack again?
Yep. That is exactly what I'm doing, Brodown.
What on earth is he humming to himself? He told me that he just talks to himself all the time, but more importantly, he's actually just referencing his favorite memes in video games and TV shows.
Oh, really?
Yeah, whenever it's like he's trying to keep himself in a good mood.
Wow.
He's like, yeah. When he was winning with the Exodia battle, he's like, yeah, I was quoting the last 3 minutes of Yu-Gi-Oh, the first episode of Yu-Gi-Oh, as he was summoning the 4 Horsemen.
That's great.
Yeah. All characters. So
all characters.
Yeah, he was doing every single character, memorized every single word, but he was just keeping it relaxed, keeping it fun. As we're getting ready to head to Game 3, reminder that the winner of this gets 15 Hearthstone Championship Tour points, which puts them in good position for seeing them again in the playoffs later this year for the first season.
Yep, as well as the lion's share of the $15,000 prize pool for this event as well. But often when we ask people the question of, you know, is it the prize money or the prestige and the implication moving forward of, you know, the validation as a professional Hearthstone player that means more to you, it's usually the latter that we get as the answer to that question. But who knows what the motivation is for someone like Jakattack, honestly. If, whether he just shows up to these tournaments to have a good time, because I know he was having a discussion backstage. It was like, you know, you're already guaranteed so many points. Like, you know, you're like a shoo-in for playoffs. And he was like, yeah, but, you know, that means I'd have to, like, grind ladder a bunch, and, you know, I don't necessarily want to do that. And it's like, yeah, but, you know, all you need is, like, a couple of top 100s from this point, you know, with how many points you got from this. So, yeah, but then I'd, you know, have to, like, travel to playoffs again. I'm not really sure if I want to do that. Like, he's just so low-key and just, like, laid back about everything.
He just wants to win this tournament. He said he wanted that so he can put himself in contention as one of the top, if not the top, New Zealand player.
But then he very quickly found out that it was only like 2 days that he'd have to travel for. There wouldn't be like media commitments or anything for playoffs like there was for this. And then suddenly he was more interested in making that journey. So top 100 grinders, look out for the name Jakattack coming up against you over the coming days, because he might be making a quick shoot, maybe out of the legend dumpster up to top 100. There might be 1 or 2 meme decks being deleted from his account in the coming days.
This game's gotten off to a pretty fast start here. Warlock being really defensive. Jakattack is playing pretty much just a cube defensive version of it. Not full, not going to be able to full-on turn the board as easily against the Spiteful Summoners compared to the Control Warlock.
Right. Odyssey, on the other hand, though, has he's chosen to include, I believe, Spiteful. What's the name of the card? Skulking Geist, right?
Yes.
Just completely blank for some reason. I was going to call it
the tech card.
Yeah. I was going to call it like Spiteful Geist for a second. I'm just so used to
it's Cabal Geist. Let's get it right.
6 mana cards with beginning with S. They have to be Spiteful, right? But yeah, he's chosen to include Geist in a bunch of his decks with the the implication of that soft target Warlock again, ruining that Dark Pact synergy a lot of the time, and it is going to be able to come down here on turn 6 and really take away Jakattack's option to use Dark Pact to activate tools on his own turn. He's going to go Spiteful Summoner instead, though, which, of course, is just a huge bundle of stats to throw out. And he is the Yasharaj King from what we've seen so far this tournament.
Not quite the Yasharaj, but still pretty good. And Jakattack's got his own powerful turn 6 with big giant minions immediately going for double Mountain Giant. Wow, this escalated really quickly.
Sure did.
Second Spiteful Summoner.
Okay. Get an 8/8 of my own.
Oh, wow. This is a lot of board tension going on here. And, Jakattack played those turns pretty quickly. And I was kind of like wondering about how he wanted to spread his resources across like the Cabal Lackey if he wanted to pull a demon out. But it seems like right now he's going to take some damage here.
Yeah, he sure is. 1 Dark Pact already used as well. He does have 2 Spellstones in hand, so he still has a significant amount of healing available to him. But his defensive options are kind of limited. No way to immediately activate the Lackey and find himself a Void Lord.
About double Doomsayer. We want to just take the damage of, like, I guess it'd be 14 damage. It's a little bit too much, I think.
Yeah, agreed.
But something worth thinking about here, because it's very easy for those priests to deal with 1 of these Doomsayers.
Free from Amber, go. Look for something with 9 health, ideally. Doesn't find it.
Indian Statue is certainly interesting as well, given that the Mountain Giant gets contested directly.
Yep.
Oh, this is really cheeky. Using the Possessed Lackey as a way to accept and receive the Death Rattle willingly. Ugh. Well, now Jakattack really want to get that Void Lord out of the way, considering that he has N'Zoth the Corruptor in 2 turns.
Oh boy. This has just been power turn after power turn from Odyssey. Spiteful on 6, Spiteful on 7, Amber on 8, Amber on 9 has been the curve.
Mind Control on
Mind
10.
Control on 10.
If like a Void Lord drops on 9.
Yep. Has the Song Stealer as well. Multiple ways to plow his way through a big taunt if it does end up coming down to that.
Yeah, Song Stealer and Twilight Drake is actually as much power as you get from a Free from Amber minion as well. Seems like Odyssey instead.
Whoa! Really?
Okay, a lot just happened right now.
Seriously, yeah, we are both kind of speechless over the exchange that we just saw. So Odyssey chose not to kill a Doomsayer, and on top of that, not even silence the Doomsayer to preserve his resources. Jakattack then chose not to play a Void Lord to play around Mind Control, waited 1 turn, and then self-activated it so he could guarantee get it into his N'Zoth pool. That was just a lot of like high-level exchange back and forth in the series of a couple of turns.
And then even, I mean, Odyssey thought about it for about 20 seconds, and then Jakattack instantly read it and moved on.
Yeah,
and then
it was gross.
That was really fast and crazy, but if you break it down, it all makes sense.
Yeah, Odyssey just went, okay, I'll let him have the empty board. He'll play his Void Lord that I'm sure he's setting up for with this play, and then I'll just Mind Control it. And then Jakattack went, nope, unlucky idiot, I get the read. hold this pass real quick.
Yeah, and now the Cabal Lackey can pull out further defenses or maybe the other Doom Guard. Another Void Lord bites the dust in case he gets Blood Reaver Gul'dan. But then Odyssey's been conserving his resources because he knows that it's probably going to be unlikely he can pressure for the win anymore. So he's just going to try to fight the resource battle because Warlock is low on cards.
Yeah, and it absolutely can be done as well. It often, when it turns into the like straight heads-up value battle, it often comes down to what you can pick up off your Glimmer Roots and Operatives, whether you can get any of the huge cards, like you manage to mind control a Void Lord and then you pick up your own Gul'dan or your own N'Zoth from that point and really start like beating the Warlock at their own game. Yeah. But it's definitely not the position you want to be in. You want to be playing the pressure game wherever possible. But just going back to that exchange we saw, it's the exact thing I'm talking about with Jakattack. He has this incredible casual player demeanor. But when it comes down to it, he shows time and time again he's a super high-level player when it actually matters.
Yeah, and I mean, props to Odyssey, too, is he's been able to really set up these plays just to give Jakattack the opportunity to stumble.
Right.
I like those little baits. Yashiraj with the Free from Amber, very good outcome. Pulling out Grand Archivist.
The double threat.
Yeah, double threat, but at the same time,
he has cast 1 Amber, 1 Mind Control hard cast at this point, right? Yeah. So he still has options for Archivist to come out.
That's the second Amber, isn't it, being used?
Yes. So he only has 1 Mind Control remaining. You're right. That's it.
So it's not like the Grand Archivist could be pulling much, anyways, because I think you want to control the Mind Control outcome.
That's true. Actually, are you ever in a world where you deliberately leave the Archivist up so that it mind controls something bad?
Oh, interesting.
And not a Void Lord later in the game?
That is so next level. So you played cheap minions to just let it mind control a 2-1.
Yeah.
Assuming that all those targets will stay alive because Grand Archivist will only cast the mind control if there is a valid target.
Yes. So if he just creates a board that like dies to a Duskbreaker, for example, then Odyssey can just Duskbreaker the board, and then his Grand Archivist does not pull the mind control out of his deck.
That's what he's doing. Oh, actually, that's pulls a Doom Guard, right? Because he drew a second Void Lord.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's killing.
He's going to clear. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. In the end, it might be a little bit too fancy. Important to note too, Jakattack did not tap because he knows that he put himself in Doom Guard range straight up after the possibility that it's in his opponent's hand.
It's a great point.
A lot of people think, yeah, can't get really bursted down that easily. And he'd be right, except for the fact that there's 1 Doom Guard. Starting to get a little bit scary here for Jakattack because now the last mind control is the big thing that he's worried about with the Void Lord.
Spellstone all the way up to 7s. This is a really nice stabilization turn now for Jakattack. Able to go all the way back up to 12. Does get his life tap in this turn and then finds himself with a couple of 2-3s on board. But there is the Gul'dan. What did I say? It so often comes down if it becomes a late game battle for value as to what you can pick up off that Operative and other random effects. And a Doomguard and a Blood Reaver Gul'dan will do quite nicely. Thank you very much.
Yeah, this is why Odyssey was playing conservative with his resources. Imagine if he was extending more onto the board into the removal tools of Jakattack. And then he'd be playing with a lot less cards and be a lot more all-in. And then Jakattack would just have to land 1 big threat like the Void Lord. And that would be it. Jakattack actually has some interesting plays here to restore health, to try and get board presence with the Spirit Slinger Umbra and the Carnivorous Cube. Can use it either on his Saturday Night Chain Gang or even on the Missions of Mixtures to gain life. So his last 2 cards are Blood Reaver Gul'dan, though.
His last 2 cards are Gul'dan and N'Zoth, is that right? Does he play both?
He used N'Zoth.
Oh yeah, he did, yeah. Okay, you're right.
He's just going to go for it and accept that Mind Control won't kill him. Certainly hurt a lot.
It would.
So, has any demons died in Odyssey side yet?
I don't believe so, no.
Okay, because the card he stole was Dark Pact as well, right? So, yeah, there's no other demons. And he didn't mind control any demon. He mind controlled a Mountain Giant.
Yes. That is all accurate information. It's still just a great late game tool to have, though, right? The Gul'dan hero power is just such a game breaker in fatigue situations.
Odyssey wondering how far he wants to extend the board in case his opponent is able to summon back a huge board himself. Looks like he's trying to dump his hand before preemptively to try and complicate the board state. And there's the Death Knight. Has to be what Jakattack's looking for, but at the same time, it also is scary. You could summon back a lot of Voidwalkers with no real meat, and then you still could be kind of back where you were starting, staring at a huge board.
Excuse me? Why did he trade like that?
Maybe for the Doom Guards to get the trade on the 4-5?
Oh, he's right. Yeah, that's better, slightly better, because he only has to trade one Doom Guard into the 4 attack minion and trades 1 into the 3, whereas the other way around, you would have had to have double traded into the 4-5. Again, tiny little thing. But that is not a play that some little casual that's just rocked up here and high roll makes, right? Like, Jakattack knows what he's doing.
It's so funny because he's always like kind of nodding. And so when you're like, oh yeah, Jakattack was trying to do this, and he's nodding, and like, I'm looking at him while you explain it.
Yeah, he just nods like, yeah, casters, welcome to my level, idiots. I've been there for the past 5 minutes. Thanks for catching up. Jeez.
Wow. It's been a great game so far. Honestly, just still trying to be conserve resources. Recognizes that if the 30th card is drawn, that means Cube and Spirit Singer Umbra is a guaranteed combo if the Doom Guard stays on board, so that'd be 15 damage at least. And I think that just might be it. Because he can just trade the small weak minions into the board and then could combo him. Yeah, I think Odyssey kind of realized he was cornered here. A little bit too slow on the gun, because in the end, he actually waited till all 30 cards are being drawn. I think he might need to put a little faster or a little bit heavier foot on the gas pedal.
That's fair. And on the other side, again, it's great recognition from Jakattack, because there was a couple of turns where he could have gone for a very defensive Umbra play. You know, you called one out with the Mistress of Mixtures. There was times where he could have gone for the Void Lords. But he recognized this game plan a long way out, that he could get the Doom Guards down from his Blood Reaver Gul'dan and then just use the Umbra combination to end the game and get lethal damage. So, again, very, very high-level long-term planning.
That's right. And, of course, with a dash of probability working his way, because the Doom Guards not being summoned back would have also been problematic there. As Jakattack takes a crucial game number 3 and is 1 game away from becoming the Sydney champion.
Every time. They're just going to have to stop making that camera cut, because I'm eventually going to die of laughter. It's so funny to me.
Like it's the same pre-packaged cut.
Right,
like, it's actually not live. This is just a pre-filmed edit of Jakattack post-game winner shot.
Yeah, they're just running B-roll.
Yeah.
Right? Shouts to Cora.
Yeah. That is the most underground caster meme of all time.
No one got that.
No one understood that. Less than 10 people in the world understand that.
Yeah.
Odyssey is in hot water. The Cube Warlock managed to escape, which means that there's only one deck remaining here, and that is the Control Paladin for Jakattack.
And it's probably the deck in his lineup that I have the least faith in. I'm still I'm not convinced of Control Paladin in this meta, and speaking of pre-packaged items, I think you could record me saying that and then just play it back in any given meta, and I think it would still be true.
Oh, wow.
I remember saying the same thing very vividly before Kobolds came out, and I know that Firebat as well was on the same train, that he just found Control Paladin to be very toothless.
Yeah, he hated that deck.
It didn't really end games quick enough for him. Now it does have that win condition with the Auction Master Beardo in there, but I still just think it's a very, very underpowered deck. It's a control deck that doesn't have good removal. You know, like, it's not playing, you know, great removal options that can take care of early game threats. You can easily abuse the fact that Rallying Blade is their only way to interact with early game boards. If they don't hit Call to Arms, they basically have to bust out an Equality as early as turn 5 or 6 a lot of the time. And then that's like 50% of all the removal in their deck gone at that point. So, you know, how do they hold on that much longer? I see a lot of problems with Control Paladin, Frodan. I don't know where you stand on this deck.
Every time I doubt Control Paladin, it ends up winning the tournament. I doubt it in DreamHack Austin last year when I played Shoop in Swiss, and he crushed me because he outplayed, you know, the living mess out of me. No surprise. And then won that tournament. I doubt it at DreamHack Valencia the year before, where Elder Evangelion, well, like, won the entire tournament and swept the field with Control Paladin.
Yep.
And now Jakattack's about to win another tournament with Control Paladin. I don't know. You tell me. What is the main win condition of this deck? Boredom?
You ever heard that phrase, you can't argue with results? That's nonsense. You absolutely can argue with results.
Yeah, if there's anything that, you know, hanging out with Hearthstone pros has taught me, you certainly can argue with results. But, you know, Odyssey has picked up a Rallying Blade with his Curious Glimmer Root. I kind of wonder if that's going to allow him to leverage his board at all, because right now he's looking for his Power Spike. He has the very important coin Spiteful Summoner, but Jakattack has the important quality.
Yep.
So how does that dynamic going to work out here? How is Odyssey going to bait out some of this removal?
Yeah, bait out is definitely the word, or the phrase, because if you can get them to Equality just, you know, one Spiteful Summoner board, that's a win for you, because you have so much more reload left over after that, and they're out on Equality. Speaking of reload, 15 points of burst and a potential unstoppable win condition of your own in form of Uther of the Ebon Blade. Not a bad pickup. Odyssey is pretty good at nailing Death Knights from Priest Discover effects, it seems.
Yeah, I don't know. There's like this weird world where Uther, the Ebon Blade, comes down. It's like a fatigue resource battle. He mind controls, like, you know,
mind controls a 2/2. Yes, that is how this game has to end.
I don't know, man. Or his opponent's Beardo or something. I don't know. There's something weird going on here.
He can take the Beardo. He can combo him.
No, he can't. There's no cheat cells.
He can combo it with his free from ambers and mind controls.
Yeah, that's 1/3. Alright, Tyrion's way better. But think about it. You know, if you had like the Netherspite Historian get another Jackknight Operative, you just build yourself the Auction Master Beardo Uther combos. Now that's a way to end the grand finals. Well, I guess in this case it'd be tying it up 2-2, but that'd be the way to wrap up a tournament.
And this is the problem, right? Like, Spiteful Priest is just such a beefy deck that he's already forced to use one of his key options, which is Sunkeeper Tarim. And all it was 2 Draconid Operatives that have replaced themselves in Odyssey's hand with, like, even stronger cards.
Yeah. Why aren't we playing Mountain Giants in Spiteful Summoner Priest? It feels like every time I look at this deck, which, wow, that's a really big minion. But every time I see Spiteful Summoner Priest, it just feels like it has a full hand at all times. Until like the late stage of the game where it's finally putting wave after wave.
Right. I think it's Feast or Famine. I think you very rarely see it with like 4 or 5 cards in hand. It either has 2 cards in hand or 9 cards in hand, right? It's at one end of the spectrum or the other, depending on how like aggressive the start has been.
Yeah. I mean, obviously I'm not advocating it for seriously, but it's like at this point, a lot of the slower matchups have made this mid-range deck play very conservative resources, almost to the point where it makes me feel like it can use even more threats if you anticipate those control decks.
Yeah, I mean, you can see it already, right? The deck plays Twilight Drake, and it consistently comes down as like a 4/7.
Yeah.
You know, so it's not a ridiculous thing to suggest. You know, it is a deck that classically does have a large hand size most of the time.
Well, Odyssey does have some life to play with here if he wants to play his best powerful minions like Twilight Drake and the Rallying Blade. Just to remove some of the minion pressure. And Jakattack starting to come up on his big curve turns. Turn 8 is one of the big pivotal moments. Is it time to play Ragnaros?
Oh, this is scary. This, suddenly, as was true at the beginning of the game, and is true again in current Hearthstone, turn 8 is the mind control turn for priests.
Yeah, it was true 4 years ago, and it's true now, assuming Grand Archivist lands it. Yeah, I don't believe any other spells have been used, obviously, because it's turn 8. So yeah, Grand Archivist can do some big stuff here. Odyssey, think about if he wants to go for gold.
Just not a believer.
What? What is happening?
This tournament. This tournament, dude. Come on.
Well, what's funny is that Jakattack did the same exact thing to someone else.
That's
in a different
true, yeah.
series where he played 5 Tyrions.
He just played a Tyrion every turn until the game ended. Yeah, all right. It's equality time.
Oh.
No, that's not a big deal, honestly, in the grand scheme of things. Spiteful or the Archivist would have been the biggest hits. Tyrion would have been the worst outcome because he would have actually had to trade into it due to the Divine Shield.
Yeah, true. It does deactivate the dragons though. But here we go. The Uther of the Ebon Blade comes out, and Jakattack not happy to see that, but we'll see if Jakattack can maybe piece together something still big here. He's got a lot of powerful stuff.
Hey.
And Tyrion of his own comes into hand when combined with N'Zoth.
Wait, what's in here? Just loot hoarders, right? Wow!
He doesn't want to plant to mind control.
Super low value N'Zoth.
Yeah.
Put your faith in the light.
Yup. Yup. How does it feel, Jakattack? Not great, huh? You still smiling? Yeah, you're still smiling. All right, fair enough.
This is a very real world where Odyssey actually does win through the win.
Yeah.
Because double
serious.
Tyrion can't go through. He uses a quality consecration.
Yep.
What?
Yep. Okay. All right. We're killing some tutus.
And all of a sudden, this has become a mirror match between Jakattack and Odyssey. 2 Uthers. And we'll see who ends up getting the better edge because both of them have those Tyrions and a lot of other cards that can generate value behind it.
Yeah, one of these decks plays 2 copies of Mind Control, though.
That's true.
That's the problem, as far as I see it.
One deck has a combo with O2K, Awesome Match and Beardo.
Also true. Hey, buddy. It's been a while.
Yeah, I was getting a little nostalgic there. Okay.
So as we've all learned, the correct play here is to sap your opponent's Deathwing, overextend into the board, give your opponent a Dragon Hatcher, and then not kill the Dragon Hatcher.
Yes.
That is the line.
I mean, there's also an opportunity. We're not going to talk too much about that game. Jakattack doesn't even want the Tyrion because he just knows that there's opportunities to get blown out by mind controls again. Just picking up low-value minions and hero powering in hopes that his opponent can't deal with the 4 horsemen. He's setting up taunt walls, forcing his opponent to trade his horsemen.
Yeah, there is still one Dusky Boy in Odyssey's hand, but no Dragon Activator, believe it or not, in a hand that big to set it off right now.
I mean, Odyssey's ahead in the hero power game because he's always going to have the initiative with the trade, considering that he has the board advantage.
Well, no, that Beetle can start doing work now, right? The Beetle and the Sword can It's kind of like absolute stalemate.
The Tyrion.
Yeah, the Tyrion does come down as a wall. You're right.
Big logistical issue.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Jakattack.
It's still smiling though. The story checks out.
It looks like he's the one who's playing the priest or paladin.
All right, the smile is now slowly fading. Inch by inch, degree by degree, it's slanting down his face.
The length of the smile we can evaluate.
Oh, it's back. It's back.
Put your faith in the light.
This has been
No rest.
one of the most eventful control paladin games I've seen in a while. And I mean, it's also really crucial too that Odyssey hasn't drawn mind control this entire time. Jakattack's kind of like played into it, recognizing that he can no longer like wait for it. If the opponent has it, he has it. And now he has confirmation that it's not in there.
Picked up the dragon now finally though, and that allows a huge push behind this this final swing of the Ashbringer, and he can just dunk him with the Tyrion and the Deathwing, essentially just setting up lethal for the following turn.
Yeah, and Jakattack has no way to really clear this board whatsoever. Double Burglary Bully is not going to be it. I don't see a way. Can set up a wall of taunts, perhaps, if he uses adaptation. Or in this case, just use it on the existing bog creeper.
Big +3 attack. Yeah, okay. I didn't see what the left option was, but it can't have been good. And now there is 8 goes in, 6 goes in. Yeah, lethal on board. Jakattack is going to have to give it up. This series is going to go all the way as the grand final deserves. Frodan, you said just a little while ago that sometimes the fireworks all get set off in the semi-final and there is none left in reserve for the grand finals. I don't think that's the case based on the series we're watching right now.
Well, sometimes the fireworks go off in the middle of the grand finals when a player's up 2-0.
Too soon. Too soon, Dan. Too soon. Hold it back.
Oh, another underground meme for the hardcore fans. As we
hey,
go
that one's not too underground. That made Twitter moments, okay? Like that's as mainstream as it gets.
Yeah. If we make it to live stream fails, I consider it a job well done.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Well, we go into the last game here, so let's see what deck remains. It is the Control Warlock versus the Control Paladin, the main card event. The question mark of who can get the better of the other opponent. And Odyssey does have that slow defensive Warlock. Doesn't have the pressure with a Cube Warlock that the Control Paladin can sometimes have fits with. So it's going to be a little bit more difficult, or a lot, depending on how you view the matchup.
Yeah, I do like the Cube Warlock in this matchup. I think it can just do too much too quickly while the Control Paladin's just like messing around trying to set up. But the fact that there is no just ultimate burst damage win condition for the Control Warlock does mean that the Paladin has a lot more time to operate. The Warlock also struggles with getting a board presence before turn 5, which immediately you see Jakattack recognize that. He keeps the Burglary Bully, knowing that if he plays it on 5, it's so difficult for Odyssey to have generated a board presence that deals with that without giving coins. But then the final breakpoint in the matchup is going to be that Rin the Disciple that is found in Control Warlock and not in Cube Warlock. That's the race. It's first off a dance where Odyssey will be trying to wait until he can activate it himself, play the Rin and kill it in the same turn, whereas Jakattack will be trying to bait it out, if he even plays silence effects in his Paladin. Do you have Jakattack's list in front of you? Because I do not.
I have Odyssey's deck list.
I also have Odyssey's deck list. How's that happened? This is Professor Oak that I have alongside here. Somewhere along the line, we have made a boo-boo, Frodan. While Frodan goes digging through our stack of papers.
He does not.
He does not play silence. In that case, Odyssey is in business. As long as he draws that Rin nice and early, it's going to be the race of the Seals up against the win condition from the Beardo for Jakattack. So it simplifies the matchup quite a lot. It means that Odyssey does not have too much to be concerned about with that Rin the Disciple hitting the board.
Interesting preemptive equip here for the Rallying Blade. What's he trying to snipe here?
That's a good question. I think he just wants to, you know, control the board as best as he can, leading it through that turn 4 into turn 5, so that he's dominating with the Burgly Bully.
Yeah.
But more so, it's just an option of just mana efficiency, right? Like, he didn't have anything else to do on 3. He's not going to play his Beardo, so now he has Rallying Blade on 3, then he goes Beetle Hero Power on 4, then he has Burgly Bully on 5. It's just the most natural curve of his hand at this point.
And it makes sense, too, given that we've seen Control Paladins struggle with sometimes having too big of a hand because they're trying to balance the coins with whatever cards, and because Control Paladins tend to play very slow anyways, it's like, do I have to even use some of the coins that I worked so hard to build towards?
Mm-hmm.
Well, Odyssey does not have many ways to provide threats, but he does have many answers. I guess he probably will like to go digging. He does have the Cobalt Librarian to buff both of his spells still, so I don't think that's a bad place to start looking. I think he's also contemplating his best way to answer Burgly Bully.
Yep.
If it comes down, but I don't think there is. Right now his hand's looking very reactive.
Yeah, he can one-shot it. I think that first Spellstone, he did play one Librarian already, and I think that first Spellstone did get hit, but, you know, ideally you want to give it 0 coins. Even giving it 1 can be a little dangerous for you.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, you're definitely right. So, definitely wants to get ahead of it and give only 1 coin. If he even has to.
Playing the newer Burgly Bully in hand. Remember, the Burgly Bully on the far left was kept.
Right.
And Mulligan cards are the most tracked cards in the game. They're the ones that basically every player that, you know, makes it to a tournament like this will be paying attention to and keeping track of. So it's a card by extension that your opponent has information on. So there is bluff value for doing what Jakattack did, but there is also just, you know, card equity value in just playing the one that you know your opponent has been keeping track of.
Skulking Geist can be pretty useful for Odyssey in shutting down the adaptation spell.
Yep.
But we all know that if he's able to get a second coin anyways, it doesn't really matter. And Jakattack, of course, nodding, recognizing that he happens to hit a guy that has a counter to one of his decks, which is not necessarily completely intentional, but ends up being some big collateral damage.
Yeah, I actually really like Geist in the meta right now. I feel very strange, like, being on this side of the debate, because like back in the Jade Druid days, I didn't really like teching Skulking Geist in too much because it was like the only deck that Geist was good against. Now no one's playing Jade Druid, and weirdly enough, I think Geist is quite strong, like almost universally, right? Because it hits Dark Pact, it hits Evolve. There's a little bit of an Evolve Shaman starting to come out now. It hits Inner Fire against Inner Fire Priest. Like there's so many decks where it just has small little disruptions.
Paladin.
Paladin adaptation, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And all of those cards, of course, are very crucial to how those decks succeed as well. So that's the big thing. A lot of people nitpick on other one-mana spells.
Yep.
Jakattack picks up Nazah, so now he has some serious late-game potential to start pushing and pressuring the Warlock life total. Because based off the way things have panned out, I don't know if Jakattack can actually reliably get off this combo just yet, but he does have a quality in the coin. Those are 2 cheap spells. If you can get 1 more coin, I think that ensures it. But it looks like he just wants to preserve his board as best as he can here. Set up for the Uther.
Ooh, that is all the big boys in a row now for Jakattack. This is exactly the kind of draw he wanted. All his combo pieces, both Burgly Bullies, Tyrion and N'Zoth.
Yeah.
But guess what, friend? That is an unaccounted for Primordial Drake that would have left him in trouble having used that Equality, but now picking up the second copy of Equality. He's actually kind of back in business again with that being the cheapest spell left in his deck with the adaptations now being destroyed by Geist.
And because he only got 1 coin off the the Burglary Bully. His plan's still going to remain the same. He's going to have to stick a single Horseman on the board and then go for a Auction Master Beto combo with Equality in the Coin. And this is hopefully a push for him, but I mean, Odyssey has waves and waves of removal 4 times over.
Death was merely a setback.
Not that I've never ever tried this, but it's not like silence works on a Horseman,
No.
right?
No, it doesn't. Odyssey now recognizes he actually needs to stay ahead of the board.
Right.
Because, yeah, you said he's got wave after wave of removal. Well, Jakattack's threat to win the game is truly infinite. Every single turn, he can just press a hero power. If that hero power is not killed, he wins the next turn. So, yeah, you can have 4 waves of removal that kills that 2/2, but if you have to spend one every turn because you're behind on board, then eventually you're going to fall behind and lose. So he needs to be ahead on board. That's why you see Odyssey investing one of his removal tools into just killing a Tyrion, because that means he maintains minions in play that he can use to contest 2/2s.
Odyssey picks up Blood River Gul'dan, which is nice, because then if your opponent already has used an Equality and they don't have the second one, you can actually start pressuring the Paladin's life total as soon as they finish up their weapon charges for lifesteal. Lich King. That is a big threat. Jakattack being patient, not trying to overextend into a Twisting Nether just yet. Wants to ramp up his resources even more. Sunkeeper Tarim. And again, wants to see if he can just soft bait a lethal with the Horseman, but Odyssey again has him covered.
Yeah, I'm curious as to whether it was worth taking a cheaper taunt from the Stonehill there and then playing it immediately, hiding the 2/2 behind 2 taunts. Then you ask your opponent for another removal spell to be able to challenge it, although you already do just with the Stonehill Defender, so I guess this is perfectly reasonable. It wouldn't have really changed the maths on Hellfire or Defile, so yeah, perfectly reasonable, I guess, just to take the highest value card with Sunkeeper Tarim.
Ooh, Obliterate's actually a really nice one, too, in case Odyssey just needs to snipe something very quickly to get a proper trade. Jakattack, about to pull trigger on the N'Zoth, knows that the Twisting Nether is very much a possibility, or even just a Hellfire clear. Aha, trying once again to sneak in the Horseman. I mean, I don't mind, you know, if your opponent ever falters the cadence once, you win.
Yep.
Force your opponents to have it.
And there it is, 3/3 hidden behind a 3/7 taunt. Yet again, asks the question.
Yeah. Oh, I like this usage of Doomsayer, trying to prevent Jakattack and have him stall 1 turn from being able to threaten with his hero power combo. So now Jakattack has to deal with that Doomsayer or just let his board go. Five cards remain on Odyssey's deck list, while 7 for Jakattack. He's going for the Equality. Still wants to get ahead.
Yeah, I mean, so the theory here is, okay, that Equality was his last answer to potentially Blood Reaver Gul'dan coming down. But Jakattack recognizes that as far as Odyssey knows, if he plays Blood Reaver Gul'dan, he might die, right? Leaving a 2/2 on the board. So as long as he can keep pressing hero power every turn, his opponent can't play Gul'dan anyway.
Jakattack gonna pull the trigger. He's gonna summon back some pretty powerful stuff with Tyrion. I'm not sure if the card draw is actually gonna be hurtful or beneficial to him because it's so deep into his deck.
Right.
And then Warlock might be able to just play the keep away game.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Hang on a second. Loot Hoarders go into the 3/9. The Loot Hoarders and the 5/7 go into the 3/9, then you Pyro Consecrate for a full board clear.
Yeah.
And then you push, what, 10 damage then with the minions in play, plus
Right.
2 from the Consecrate. It's not lethal, but it's a ton of damage represented.
And a weapon follow-up.
5,
5, 9, 12. 14 damage just turned to 21. He's put him down to 7.
Yep. Huge amount of damage going through.
And then he has to Twisting Nether this. He doesn't have any other AoE.
Right.
He's going to get a weapon swing anyways, knowing that he can't end it. Knows that the Twisting Nether was a very strong possibility. Both players are just basically in their last few cards of their deck. Is Jakattack going to win this tournament the same way he qualified for it? Just weapon swing to the face.
It's very possible. That was the story we heard. There is a Void Lord in hand, but there's now a Spike Ridge Steed availability for Jakattack, which can make an incredibly sticky horseman on the board.
Right, and a Spellbreaker was used. Odyssey only has one Spellbreaker in the deck.
Jakattack did have to use that final cheap spell on his deck, the Equality, though, to maintain the board state. So his ability to force out the 4 horsemen is limited by that, but most importantly, he does just have this very, very aggressive board state now.
Right.
It forces out the Twisting Nether, which is one of the final universal clears that Odyssey has available to him.
And also by doing this, Jakattack still was putting pressure on. He's got 7 damage.
Yep.
Well, 8 if you count the Sunkeeper Cherub.
Still has a Rag Light Lord. Call to Arms, not where you want to be seeing it in the bottom 2 cards of your deck.
I mean, it helps him get 2 horsemen out in a turn if he wants.
That's true.
Death was merely a setback.
2 Twisting Nethers have been used. You know the opponent will guarantee draw N'Zoth the Corruptor by now. Pegging his opponent on not having any more removal for this. He's going to try and set up the Auction Master Beardo because if he plays N'Zoth, he's going to get the hero powers anyways.
Yep, this is great recognition. Any other play he makes, his opponent just plays N'Zoth and the game is over. So this is a great spot from Jakattack. This is what he needed to do with his turn. And he knows that N'Zoth is available because every single card in the deck was. I continue to be so impressed how this guy can play the game so very, very well while taking such a casual, laid-back attitude towards everything.
Is there any way for Odyssey to get out of here right now? Because he's kind of in a losing position. If he hero powers, he's not going to be able to play N'Zoth ever. And he's also on the fatigue situation now as well.
Death Coil, Coin, Void Lord does look like the most stable option. That Death Knight card coming in super clutch to be able to take care of the Beardo. Jakattack had everything accounted for apart from that random pickup from the Lich King. He knew it possibly could have been the Death Coil, but outside of that, he made the winning play based on the perfect information of the remaining cards in Odyssey's deck.
Gonna shut down the Void Lord, has such a high health advantage. And now it doesn't even matter about the horseman, he just has board presence. And Odyssey is completely cornered.
He can't play N'Zoth ever, which to stabilize is what he needs to do. He can maintain a stalemate where he just pings away a horseman that then gets regenerated every single turn, but that is not good enough. Dan, I'm not seeing it.
I can't think of a possible way. Even if he summons N'Zoth, does he have enough turns to withstand fatigue damage?
He does summon N'Zoth, and by my count, there are 3 horsemen on the board right now, Dan. He presses the button. The man, Jakattack, who looked at this deck from Shoop and said, hey, that looks fun, let me give it a try. Well, what is more fun than winning your first ever Hearthstone tournament, making a ton of fans, myself included, along the way. Jakattack, congratulations, sir. You have been a breath of fresh air in this tournament, and you are a fitting champion for the HCT Tour Stop.
What a wonderful journey for this player from New Zealand as he disrupts the entire ecosystem of players and crushes the competition. Jakattack is your HCT Sydney Tour Stop champion for 2018. What a fantastic tournament it's been, as Jakattack's just going to crash the party. I like it.
Yep, come on in, buddy.
Let's take a look at the bracket real quick as we get a headset set up for our winner here. Jakattack withstands the ANZ killer. Odyssey has beaten so many players from Australia and New Zealand to get to this point. Beat everybody except for Akamaker and one man that's sitting with us right here in Jakattack here. He's the recipient of 15 Hearthstone Championship Tour points. 700 or 7,000, 700 bucks for your time, man. That stinks. 7,500 bucks. Jakattack, how you feeling right now?
Oh, that was amazing. Like, I had no faith in that last game. Warlock into Paladin, off the coin, like, oh, that's incredible.
You can relax, man. You can relax. Talk to me about some of the thoughts that were going through your head during that entire series. You were kind of worried because you had this, go into the winner's bracket. You're like, oh, I don't have the safety of double elimination. So how did you prepare yourself mentally, and then what were some of the thoughts during that series?
Well, the main thought I was looking for was that I needed to get my Paladin into his Mage. And I guessed his ban correctly. I thought he'd ban my Mage, and I would ban his Rogue. And I got the games I wanted the first three. It's just that I didn't win the Paladin into Mage game. So as soon as that happened, I was pretty nervous. It may have not looked like I was nervous, but I was pretty nervous for that really Paladin deck.
Yeah, talk to us about your little mindset too. You said that you were nervous, but you didn't look nervous. Definitely not to us. You looked relaxed. You looked like you were kind of singing or muttering yourself. Is it a song? Are you talking to yourself? Are you remembering, or are you quoting more Yu-Gi-Oh lines?
Not just Yu-Gi-Oh, but sometimes I'm humming along. Sometimes I'm singing along to the almighty Black Sabbath,
Nice.
and sometimes I'm just muttering to myself for when my opponent chains operative into summoner into summoner. Like
Into Tyrion, into Tyrion.
Death Knight.
Yeah, so sometimes it just depends what I'm doing. I think it's important to keep a positive attitude, to keep it, not always to be focusing 100% on what's going wrong. Like, I think that's bad.
Yeah,
So-
I agree.
I just want to say, first off, congratulations. Second of all, I continually was more and more impressed with like the way you were playing throughout the tournament, because I would look at the way you handled yourself, just very casual, laid back, and then we saw your interview where you said, this is my first tournament, and I kind of net decked my lineup and took it from Shoop. And I was like, okay, maybe this guy isn't a top tier player, but there were so many little spots where you just made these like incredibly insightful, like top level plays. I don't have a question for you. I just want to say congratulations, very, very well played. I've enjoyed watching you this tournament so much.
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about your goals going into this. You mentioned that your first objective was to kind of prove yourself amongst the New Zealand players and win on Australian soil. So now that you've achieved that, is there anything that's next on your bucket list here as a Hearthstone player?
Let's get enough points to go to prelims, do well there. I mean, as far as achievements go, this is pretty good. So satisfied for the moment.
Have you had your mind changed? Because I did hear you talking backstage that maybe what you weren't didn't want to grind all the time to like amass the points that you needed. Like, are you looking forward more to that now? Now you've had a little taste of victory in Hearthstone.
Yeah, I'd say so. To know that you can do it, to know it's possible, that feels pretty good. And especially given that I got first place, that's a lot of points. So definitely something to consider. But if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. It's all good.
Oh, I like just laid back all the time. See, guys, that's just who he is. A lot of people were like wondering, man, is he always that chill all the time? And the answer is yes. Jakattack, you can have the final words of whatever you want to say. If you want to thank people, or if you just want to talk to the fans in general.
Yeah. So shout out to the boys, especially the greatest Oceanic Guild, Rito and friends. Shout out to my coach Fabian, always watching my games. And the Shui video will be on Twitter later, and if it's allowed to be on the Hearthstone subreddit, sometime on there.
All right, cool. I'll be checking this Hearthstone subreddit. I know thousands of people watching will as well. Sato, any final words to close this tournament?
No, I just again want to say congratulations, and I guess it was fitting in the end that after you didn't get the sunglasses payoff with the 4 Horsemen, at least the tournament ended with the 4 Horsemen, right?
Yeah, the tournament started with the 4 Horsemen. The tournament ended with the 4 Horsemen. That's pretty satisfying as far as I'm concerned.
There you go.
Couldn't say it better myself. We had a lot of fun these past 2 days, and a big shout out to everyone who tuned in, all the players from around the world. But this